Bitcoin pulls back nearly $4,000 from the current high of just over 70,000 bucks. And all the questions are, is it over? Is it a fake out? Are we going to zero? And while there's always a probability of that, I do want to be actually revealing a new setup on a very high term time frame here for Bitcoin in conjunction with all the other setups actually that we've been looking at on this channel over the past week and a half now, which you can reference those videos from those days to go over that. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about something completely new. Anyways, other than that, I think we can just jump right in this one and starting off with Bitcoin on the 5-day time frame, kind of referencing the beginning of this video. And Bitcoin on the 5-day for CME is going to have a chance to close above that red 5 exponential moving average yet again for the third consecutive time, which historically for Bitcoin, as long as it's been above it, those have been your trending, like actual trend in motion movements for your higher term time frames. And whenever Bitcoin's been below it, it's generally been a corrective period. So what I've done over here is I've actually gone through and I've backtested this I've actually done it throughout the full history of Bitcoin, but in this case, I wanted to omit the first few years because it's just, I mean, the results were like hilariously way too good. Now these results are still pretty good right here as well, I would say, but ultimately, I am just testing from about 2013 to current dates. So just over 10 years, actually 11 years in this case. And we have seen that literally just opening along. Like this is herpity derp dumb information right here, dumb style, as Elsa slams the door in the background. This is literally just opening along when Bitcoin closes above that 5 exponential moving average and then closing that position when it closes below. Crazy, fucking crazy. And as you can see in this particular study right here, there have been several iterations of this throughout this past year. Obviously, being that it is a 5-day time frame, you know, it doesn't trade super often. And I am omitting 1 day of results as well. Let me just double check which one it is as I use the Krown automation service over here, just this guy, because I know I'm gonna get a few questions about that. Hey, what did you use to get that? It's like, that's what it is. But anyways, the first omission is Wednesday, no trading there. That does actually improve the results for this particular strategy. And I have a time frame filter, meaning that the daily trend must be to the upside as well. When that is in place, these statistics over here are relevant. And what's incredibly interesting to me is that one, the profit factor is just stupid, hilariously high. 2, the percent profitable is basically a coin flip, you know, just over 50% in terms of hit rate. But the average winning trade returns, and this is again craziness right here, close to 53%. The average losing trade loses an average of just under 7%. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out that if you play that over time, it's going to return positive results. Doesn't mean that every damn iteration is going to be positive, obviously, but pretty damn good. Anyways, we can see that generally when it does lose, it does come during these sort of periods where it's, you know, just like in and out. So small little paper cuts and then big, massive, boisterous, massive, girthy green dildos in terms of profits typically do follow after that. So we've had a couple of winners on this one, or actually 3 winners in a row on this one. Again, keeping in mind that this does have a 50% strike rate basically. So this would be the 4th iteration right here, which did open in basically mid to late July. So again, as long as Bitcoin's above that 5 exponential, well, that is going to be open and those statistics are relevant. And again, well, average trade returns 50%, which again is fucking crazy. But, you know, what would that look like on top of current price action? Well, 50% would put Bitcoin close to that crazy 6-digit number that I think a lot of people are looking for. Again, yesterday we went over silly patterns that also do suggest an implied target somewhere around 90,000 bucks upon confirmation, which we do not have just yet as well. But you're starting to see multiple things, again, from multiple different angles come into this market and again, suggest the same thing. So I'm inclined to say that this current pullback, this current $4,000 crash, the crash is not concerning just yet. As long as Bitcoin is above that 5 exponential on a 5-day closing basis, I'm going to be trading that just as statistically relevant to the upside and looking at this as yet again another opportunity. Now, of course, that brings into question, where is the 5 exponential? And it is at 65,500. So as long as Bitcoin is above that number on a closing basis, upside still more likely than downside. And while this is, you know, a pretty decent pullback, I mean, 4,000 bucks is certainly nothing to wink at, I guess. it isn't really all that much for Bitcoin right here. We do kind of expect volatility to come back into this market when you are kind of around a major break, whether it be to the upside or the downside. Anyways, so we've got that. I want to now go back on over here, get back onto my notes because I lost my damn place. And yes, we can see that on the 5-day time frame for CME, there is still that hidden bullish divergence here. This has not fully played out. You said it's not even reclaimed the moving average on this one as well. And I do suspect that once it does get confirmed, probably on the next 5-day closure, you will see at least a move over to the bottom end of the bullish control zone. 5-day Jewel is possibly going to turn up on the next tick as well. Again, we'll have all this information tomorrow, basically, or not basically, but we quite literally will have that information tomorrow. So, Bitcoin closing here higher likely does continue that up. Again, 65,500 is the big number to be mindful of. As long as Bitcoin's above there, I look at pullbacks as likely an opportunity. Again, the hash ribbon signal, which I won't go over on this video, but you can reference prior videos for that. I'm gonna be looking at $56,000 as a high probability of the next like major trend low for this asset. So yeah, all right, we've got through that. Let's now get into the daily statistics. Tuesday actually is the most likely day to close negatively since this year began in 2024. And it also does have the highest negative returns for any weekday or any day for that matter as well, returning an average of negative almost 3%. In the cases that it has closed positively, which is only 40% of the time throughout this year, has actually had one of the lowest positive returns for a weekday, which is just over 1.5%. So looking at the current price action and kind of figuring that out from the current open, 1.5% to the upside will put Bitcoin maybe back around about high $67,000, like 67,800. 3% to the downside, or almost 3% to the downside, will put Bitcoin back down around $65,000. So again, likely the range for today. Yesterday, we actually did see the range hit on both, or almost on both sides. To the top side, no. To the bottom side, yes. Which actually I was not looking for, but hey, at the end of the day, statistics are statistics. My opinion is unnecessary to corroborate that fact. Anyways, yeah, so we've got that. Tuesday, a little bit more likely to continue on with this pullback. And then if we are going to see upside movement, Wednesday would be a great day for that. Not necessarily because it is super positive, but because it does have the highest positive returns for any weekday. So if it does close positively, it's most likely to return the most in terms of percentage, which is over 3.5%, which is kind of a lot actually, or at least in my opinion, it's a lot. Anyways, also to be mindful of today for the 5-day closure for CME is the 5-day stochastic oscillator is going to have a chance to continue up here, also reclaim the moving average and reject the bearish control zone. Again, assuming that Bitcoin closed today above 58,400 on CME, currently trading almost $10,000 above that pivot as of right now. So looking still rather likely with volatility on the floor. This is still set up for a major break. Volatility can really only go up from here. And if volatility goes up at this moment, it will favor the upside just because momentum oscillators are also favoring the upside. And we typically do see confluence or great confluence between those things, which is the basis of really the 5-day volatility for stochastic momentum setup, which I'm not going over in this video as well. But also having similar targets, which is very interesting, again, because completely different look, although generating very similar targets to other things that we have been mindful of on this channel. Anyways, last thing that I'll kind of leave you with on the daily here for the daily range, daily HPDR range, $65,000 to the downside versus 70,700 to the upside. Nothing really means much as long as Bitcoin's kind of also in between there. Just more or less consolidation, which still favors continuation of current trend. I'm sure a lot of people are focused on the Gapola down here from Friday the 12th of July. I guess that would be a potential target if Bitcoin were to break below Thursday's low, or just start to close dailies below $65,000, or also violate that 5-day parameter that we set out earlier. If one of those happens, then yeah, I would probably be looking for a gap fill there, which is basically $60,000. But until then, this still does look like a generally healthy consolidation, and Bitcoin pulling back from $70,000 is like not that crazy, or $71,000 on CME. Of course, can't really, we do have a pretty obvious area for an actual confirmation of a breakout now. Just by trading above yesterday's high would be the very obvious thing. And yeah, that's really all that there is to be speaking about on this one. I suspect that today, Tuesday, is probably going to be a sideways day, probably going to be an inside day, as also just kind of work off of their lower term time frame extreme conditions. and then catch up with the higher term timeframes yet again, and probably set it up for a move later this week, if I had to guess. So yeah, that's going to do it for today. I feel like I did miss something. Holy shit. How did I miss this? This was a huge one. Over here, let me just bring it up on my other screen, because MetaSignal's fired off a pretty interesting signal, actually. Let me just bring it into the view. Whoops, wrong one. Okay, there we go. It did just fire off a hourly Bitcoin buy signal. And by the way, this is coming from their Twitter. This obviously you can freely get now. This is a power 2 signal, so it's not as powerful as powerful 1, which we've seen a couple of those in the past week and a half here that were actually coming off of, like, you know, sub $60,000, which worked out really, really well. But in this case, we can see targets alongside probabilities. This one firing off at a price of 66,450. Target 1, which has an almost 83% probability to be hit, is 67,250. So that actually hasn't even been hit yet. Target 2, which has a close to 58.5% probability to be hit, is at 68,100, and target 3 at 69,200 is 40% probability. So this is an hourly setup, obviously a relatively lower term time frame compared to what we have been looking at recently, but would be again suggestive of upside. And they have a proposed area of failure and validation, basically below about 65,600, which actually does correlate well with the 5-day number as well. Although this one being on an hourly, obviously, is a different time frame, and that would be on a closing basis here too. So very important point. Some people don't seem to understand that, unfortunately. It's like, don't understand. Some people do not understand what closing basis mean, which is just, it's like, sir, I'm going to try to keep my cool. Just kidding. I can't keep my cool because I lost my last chess match right before I recorded this video. Very fucking pissed off about that. So whenever that happens, I might say some mean things. It just might be the way that it is. I don't know why. It's probably my own problem. Probably says more about me than it does about you. But it's still, I'm very angry about it. All right. Anyways, that's enough of me rambling and talking shit. I think we'll end on that note. As always, I want to wish everyone the best. The crypto school signups are actually still going for another couple days, as Thursday is the last day. So if you're interested in that, check out the link in the description below, and I'll end things right there. Also, end everything. As always, I would like to wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully next time.